Welcome to Packmates, a podcast about Magic the Gathering Unlimited, where you take a deep dive into current limited formats. The Packmates are a group of cool cats that like to draft, hang out, and go to F&M. Check out our Discord, linked in the description.
I already
for
hate the
help,
intro.
make cuts, or even navigating a draft. Remember to ping Joel, Andrew, Ryan, or Roby, and we'll gladly help if we're on.
Yep.
We love this shit.
I hate the new intro.
Today, we are talking about the importance of rares and limited. We're doing a Jeskai energy primer for Modern Horizons 3. And we're going to talk about some trophy decks that have been posted on our Discord. I'm Ryan, your resident aggro expert.
I'm Andrew, your resident mid-range expert.
And I'm Roby, the resident turtle expert. And
You forgot about Joel.
I'm Joel, your resident combo expert.
and
We are the
Packmates.
Packmates. You always go last in that because you say the end.
oh, my bad.
You know what I'm saying?
I had a couple extra ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Andrew's going to get us started.
So we're in a new format now. New set, new everything.
Yep.
MH3, Modern Horizons 3. I'm thinking the rares are not as important as they've been in previous sets.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Thoughts?
don't really know.
Okay.
I don't really.
I agree, but I think the uncommons have replaced the rares because some of the uncommon power levels are absolutely insane. So like uncommons compared to commons, there's a pretty big gap there.
I think
Mhm.
there's some commons that also compete with rares too.
This is true.
I would maybe agree, but I also think it's like a useless comparison.
I think it can tell us a lot about formats, and I think what this
Please.
does is this sets up the pre-release stuff. Like,
Roby, why is it a useless comparison?
Because I think every format usually has like cards that are good. It's just weird whenever they're like in the not rare slot, right?
So we have cards that are good and cards that are bad?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. And
So
rares
every
there are
set.
less, right?
Yeah.
Rares there are less rares in a draft. And when they're I don't know where I'm going with it.
you're illustrating
Okay.
the point.
yeah. Thanks for proving our point.
I just don't know how I feel about like pointing it out, because like every format that has been like considered like a rare heavy format, I kind of just didn't feel it really was that important.
Yeah. I mean, there's things you can do to mitigate like the bomb heavy format
Yes.
things, right?
And like this format too, for sure. Like I feel like sometimes there's like it feels like a not rare heavy format till you just get blown out by a rare, right? It's like kind of an emotional feeling.
yeah,
to,
but
like, even say that.
the thing that like sets this format different to me is you can also get blown out by a common or an uncommon.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this format unique, like compared to the last one. That's where formats differentiate. So to me, like this is a lesson we can learn at pre-release and apply to draft, and we can broaden it into lots of formats.
Yeah.
And the way that we do that is we say, okay, rares are not as important in this pre-release. Like we felt that, right? Like when you played, there was way less cards that you're like, I can't deal with that. There wasn't Bonnie Paul, right?
There wasn't Bonnie Paul, but like there rarely is like a Bonnie Paul, right?
I would say that
There's a Bonnie Paul in
oftentimes a
every
Bonnie
format,
Paul,
but
yeah.
like
There's a boogeyman in every set.
yes.
But
so, yeah.
a lot of sets have multiple.
Yeah. We
And
have
like-
these
like-
things.
Yeah. And this set has less at rare, less at specifically rare or mythic rare.
Mhm.
So that tells you that the good cards are going to be higher in quantities because they're spread across uncommons and commons,
Yeah.
right? And so when that happens, what it does is it lets you build these high synergistic decks that really let those cards shine. That's like a lot harder to do with when they're at rare because you don't know that you're going to get them.
Yeah.
And so I tend to gravitate towards sets like this. Like these are my favorite kind of sets where the power levels at common and uncommon. And that's what makes me like the set because it lets me plan for getting certain cards.
Joel, you're a mythic level drafter right now. Actually, you've actually cracked the top 100. Is that correct?
Yeah, made top 50.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
dang.
That's
I'm
freaking
gonna change
awesome.
all the thumbnails.
So, Joel, what's your take on this? How important are rares in Modern Horizons 3?
There are definitely some really powerful rares.
Mhm.
Like Tamiel is the 1 mana 03 that makes equivalent attacks is busted. Absolutely insane. Like its improvement when drawn is almost like 14%. It's like 13.4 or something. Like the card is nuts. And every time I played it, it's felt. And there's some others like Guide of Souls that are just great. Right?
A Johnny.
But it's
stupid too.
They all feel beatable for the most part, right? It's like removal at common is pretty clean, right? If you think we have pretty much bolts in the set, we have upgraded bolts sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Like static prison. It feels like there's a decent amount of premium removal, right?
Have any of you
And-
guys gotten Ulamog yet?
When's the last time you heard like the boogeyman is a 0/3 flyer? Like that's
Yeah,
absurd.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's insane,
Like,
right?
All of like the crazy threats, they're like all value based, right? It doesn't feel like, oh, I win the game on the spot,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, there's cards like the Wrath.
Yeah.
or like
you know, it's
Ulamog
hard to
too,
get
right?
back.
Yeah.
Ulamog.
I've seen someone beat a resolved Ulamog.
I've seen people beat. I've
Yeah.
lost with an Ulamog in play myself.
Really.
Yeah.
I've
And at
only
10
been
mana,
on
like,
other side,
honestly, Roby, once you get past a certain threshold there, like, those cards should probably end the game. Like, a 12 mana spell, a 10 mana spell. Like, you're not casting
Yeah,
it to just attack for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's just way more realistic to cast 10 mana spells in this format.
It is.
Like it's like a 5-drop.
Yeah. I mean, like 6 or 7,
Well,
realistically. But yeah.
I know what you're doing
I
over
have
there.
well, on turn 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Emrakul is one that I don't think you're beating if it,
Resolves.
Yeah.
even if the cast trigger happens, like you're probably not winning that game.
13 mana.
Yeah.
That's a lot of mana. Though.
Yeah.
you're not,
Well,
you know.
but yeah,
you're not
Madness for
timing.
6 though.
Oh, the madness. I almost did that today.
Oh, that
it was
was-
close.
that would be so sick.
I was so close.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah. So the lessons we can apply from this are when this happens, you can higher win rate, more
Yeah.
sealed. Like I'm gonna play probably the Arena Open because of this
Mhm.
when I wouldn't ever do that in Outlaws. Because like if I don't open
I-
good packs in Outlaws, I'm gonna have a significantly worse deck.
I do all of them.
Yeah.
I will always do them.
Yeah.
But
I don't care what the format is.
do you agree that formats like this, like you feel like you have better chances or no?
I do think that it definitely like lowers the gap in terms of you can have like a higher ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Like you do not have to open the great cards, you can still do well. But I think that's more true in most sealed formats than people realize, that sealed feels bad because when you don't open well, you kind of have like you start from the beginning feeling like you're screwed,
Mhm.
right? Like there's the mental aspect.
And I think sealed kind of gets a bad rap because you usually like most people only ever do it once per format, right?
Yeah. Joel.
Or they
Oh.
do it like 3 times, right?
Yeah.
And then they give up on it.
Yeah.
Like, the number of people I saw complaining on Twitter about, various formats sealed,
Mhm.
when it's like, you can have a crazy good win rate in those too.
Yes, I agree.
I also think that this format is kind of unique for a Modern Horizon set too, where like it feels like unlike any other Modern Horizon set where like it's solved.
I don't think it's
It's not solved, but
Oh.
we like have never had 17 lands data for any Modern Horizon set ever because they've never been on Arena.
Yeah, that's true.
So like
Mhm.
it's kind of like made the format a little bit like
So you think it's like solvable?
yes.
Yeah.
It's like way different than like normally, like from my experience anyways. I don't know about you guys, but like we draft like a Modern Horizon set like 2 or 3 times max
In paper.
in paper.
And that's it.
And that's all we
Yeah.
ever got to do.
Yeah. And
But,
this set
like-
we've already done like 10 drafts.
Yeah,
right?
10
Like,
drafts a piece, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
End drafts?
Yeah, you don't get to. I don't think 10 drafts get you to level 50 or number 50. How many?
Yeah.
Probably takes a few more.
It took 13 to hit Mythic.
Did it really? Wow.
Dang, yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
You must have. Oh my gosh, your win percentage must have been so high.
right?
It was about
The
70.
Chrysalis,
hella
bro.
good. Well,
Chrysalis.
I put them
would
on
be-
those energy decks.
did you?
I put them on them.
I didn't know.
I
know.
drafted a lot of energy.
Yeah, I don't
Energy
know
was
about-
good.
Yeah.
Since that one draft, yeah.
Yeah, especially if something gets really contested. That I guess that's something too. When something's that contested, like the Chrysalis deck, like you can find these other strategies kind of on the fringe of it, but that also kind of hurt that strategy a little bit because the energy deck dips into red, right?
Yeah, but
So you're
not
kind of
green.
lowering the. Well, no, but you're lowering like the card quality there. For like in a pod draft or something like that, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get those red cards.
You do a little bait.
Mhm. Yeah.
So are rares always this week in formats, right? Or Andrew?
Yeah.
Andrew?
No. Like Gruff Triplets exists and Bonnie Paul exists, and
But like, I
like
would say
there's no
like,
equivalent to that in these. in this
Wilds of
format.
Eldraine was definitely not a rare heavy format.
Right, and I like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
format a lot. Right,
But,
and
like,
neither
Gruff-
was
Gruff
Streets
Triplets,
of
yeah.
Streets of Kamigawa, or what is it?
Nukabena.
No.
Streets of Nukabena.
What the
Kamigawa
ninjutsu?
Neon Dynasty.
Yes, but Streets was right, and Thunder Junction is
A
where they
rare
have
heavy format?
yes.
No, Streets was not a rare heavy format.
No, Streets of New Capenna
Oh, yeah,
was
yeah.
extremely rare heavy.
No,
but-
it wasn't. That was the Inspiring Overseer format.
Yeah, but like
you were like
that's
you were
like a different
throwing-
form. That's a different reason why I dislike formats because like
Yeah.
everyone has to play band, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and that's I don't like that. I like to be able to do anything. I like to
Well, it wasn't rare. Rares weren't good in that set.
right, but like the commons were rares, kind of like this. But
Yeah.
like there was only like one like viable thing you could do, and that's play the 3/3 trample and the angel. Like
Yep.
One thing I would note, though, to be fair, the data on rares doesn't actually show out as that much like lower win rate for like the best ones, right?
well, the
If
data
you're looking at like off Pride, Guide of Souls, it's still new.
yeah,
It's
That's
still
what I'm saying,
new
it's like
for
the
sure.
data has
Some of them
to
are still
settle.
very comparable to bombs of previous formats.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that these bombs die to removal compared to like rough triplets didn't.
Well, I think
Right?
the thing that makes these bombs shine is that the decks are so synergistic in this format. They really highlight the bombs, and the rares just go with the decks that they
Yeah.
go in.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
whereas like gruff triplets, like you'll splash for it, you don't care. Like it's very hard to beat a resolved gruff triplets, regardless of whatever
Same
else you
with
do
like
that
Bonnie
game.
Paul.
Right.
Where like there's like a lot of times where even like Bonnie Paul could like have actually sabotaged you because like trying to splash it is so hard. Yep.
Yeah, but like that blue black rare we were talking about earlier, the one that draws your card every
Psychic
hand.
Frog.
Psychic
Yep.
Frog.
Like I wouldn't go out of my way in my red black artifact deck to splash that because it would be actively bad for me.
Yeah.
I think I would.
I
Its
would.
improvement when drawn
Yeah.
is 13 points.
Yeah.
Opening hand win rates just under 70.
But you're gonna
Card
hit
is kinda
that.
broken.
You're gonna
Wow.
nuke that improvement when drawn when you try to splash it into stuff that doesn't go in this format. I think like you're gonna say like, oh look at these stats, it's insane. You're gonna put it in a deck that it doesn't belong, and then it's gonna perform worse for you because you're not drawing 3 cards every turn, so you don't have the stuff to discard to it. Like I mean, basically like exactly what you said. You kill it and they discard all their cards. You try to bolt it, discard all their cards, and you kill it, and then they just lose. But that's gonna be like
Yeah, That's what
magnified.
makes it deal.
That's going to be super magnified in not blue black decks, right? Because like they can't
Sure.
recover from you killing it.
Mm.
Like the blue black decks can kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but a red green deck that's just splashing it can never recover.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest point of contention is I think that formats can be like synergistic, and that's one thing, and that has nothing to do with whether or not the rares are good or not.
Yes, I agree.
And that's like one probably my biggest point of contention, that like synergy doesn't always have to rely on rares, really. Like
Yeah.
there's usually like decks.
But like OTJ, like we had this conversation in OTJ where you said that like the rares are really good, but if you make a synergized deck with
beat
your
rares.
rares, you can beat the rares.
Yes.
Like if you use your rares in a synergistic way.
And I think that exists in almost every format. Like there's always rare piles.
Like
right?
you can always have a better deck than other people.
Yeah.
Right? That's always going to exist. That's like why we like to draft, right?
Yep.
But with OTJ, the problem is even given those decks, your win rate is lower because other people just have outrageous shit. Like
I don't fully agree with that. I love OTJ.
that's your right as an American, Roby, but I don't.
like it's similar to Mom almost for me, right?
Yeah, I think it's way different, but yeah.
Because it's like real swingy and explosive, and sometimes the board just explodes out of nowhere.
Like
And
OTJ, I've played so many non-games that were not a factor. Like I was never going to win or they were never going to win.
Yeah.
And Mom was like every game was a knife's edge.
It really was. It really was. That's why that format's sick.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the most bomb heavy formats of all time.
Like
right?
I liked Mom because like it rewarded me for knowing when to attack and when not to,
Yeah.
right? Like it rewarded my combat skills. But anyway, we're getting a little bit derailed.
yeah.
Yeah, that really.
So synergy isn't always rares, right? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
So when these decks, the moral of the story is when a format's like this, and the power can be found at uncommon and sometimes even common with like Writhing Chrysalis,
Mhm.
everyone can have more consistent decks because they can expect certain things, and the rares aren't just going to break your back every time.
I do feel like you could also just have rare piles too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, a good rare pile will beat
a synergistic deck most of the time, right? Like
Uh,
a very good rare pile.
well, that'd be a synergistic rare pile.
Synergistic rare
Like
pile
if you have
is
the
absurd,
if you have
yeah.
the rare Eldrazi's and I don't, and we're both playing Eldrazi's, like your deck's probably a little better,
Yeah.
right? Like, but it can be navigated and it can be
Yeah.
sideboarded and all that.
I have
Yeah.
one thing to say about rares. I have a question for you, Andrew.
Sure.
How do you like your rares in a format?
What do you mean?
Like, what is your ideal picture of what a rare should do in a format?
I think it should help the synergy of a deck. It shouldn't be something that's just the outlier.
You don't like things that like kind of sit outside of the synergy, kind of, but are just like good to play cards,
You don't like splashable rares?
like splashing or like I don't know, just something that does something very powerful, but not necessarily like there's like the gruff triplets version of that, and then there's like
Well,
definitely more fair.
Well, I think
versions
we're
of
seeing that in this set. Like you're saying, like with Joel, when he was talking about some of the top rares in this
Tameo.
set.
Tameo sits outside of all of them, right? Like it doesn't really synergize with anything in a meaningful. It kind of does because it like
It's part of the draw 3 deck.
yeah, but it also can exist outside of that very easily, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But this is the dichotomy of the kind of rares that you're talking about. You're talking about like a Gruff Triplets on one side that's like going to single-handedly win you the game. And you're talking about like a Tameo, which is like a cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
Tameo's not
Nope.
going to single-handedly win you a game. It's going to allow you to like synergize your way to the game.
Like in order for it to single-handedly win you the game, has like attack 3 times, right?
It'd have to attack quite a few times.
And then you have
know,
to crack all the clues, and then like
flip it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a long
Yeah, but you're
process.
usually like, you can usually cheat it, right?
well,
That's
if it's
synergy.
a cog in the
That's
wheel,
synergy.
yes.
It's-
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you have to have energy to flip
What,
that.
when I think of like a busted rare that is kind of close to that, I think of like Slumbering Fairy, which had like absurd opening hand win rate, right? Like the 1 mana 3/3 flyer
with Ward 2.
with Ward 2 and
Mm-hmm.
3 stun counters on it. But you could tap it, you could pay 2 and take a stun counter.
Untap it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just like a generically powerful card
Yeah.
outside of the rares. Do you like cards like that at all?
Yeah,
Like,
cards like that are fine. You know, I think they're pretty nice. I liked when we first had like mythics finally come into the game. They were like the game-ending spells. You know, they were always like that. Like if you played
that's
this,
wild.
yeah. Well,
That you
they-
remember when Mythics
Yeah,
came into
I did
play?
too.
Yeah, you know,
That's like when Planeswalkers
Well,
were
yeah.
invented.
you know, it was
Like,
one of those things where when they first had them come out, they thought they were going to be those kind of in-game spells. And they were like, you probably only need like one of these in your deck, you know. And then the next set they printed Lotus Cobra, which was like an immediate 4 of in every deck. If you've ever played with Lotus Cobra or had a sack land with a Lotus Cobra,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's a 2/1 landfall.
It was in standard not that long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. And so, 2/1 landfall, you get a mana, and then, when something comes in, you get mana again. So, yeah, very nice. But anyways, I like these kind of haymaker kind of rares.
you
I
do?
do
Or,
like
no,
them.
I'm sorry. I
I
don't like
love
those. I don't like those.
haymakers.
I don't like the haymaker. Sorry.
I was like, dang,
No.
Andrew said something I agree with.
No. I don't like. I like them to be part of the synergy of it. If a mythic's going to be a haymaker, that's fine because they're so like it's a lower percentage. Like you're not opening a mythic every pack,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they
I
should
tend
be
to
like
agree,
wildly
yeah.
costed too. You shouldn't have like
Like Emrakul.
you shouldn't have a haymaker that's like a 1 cost something. Like you're not going
There
to get like a
is,
5,
right? Like Tameo is a 1-drop mythic.
but it's not.
but it
is it
doesn't
a-
haymaker?
is it a
instantly
haymaker?
end the
It's
game.
not a haymaker,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure. I
Yeah.
feel like they should be though. Like mythics should be haymakers.
Yeah.
But there is like 4 mythics in every pack now, right?
Yeah.
like
I don't know about that. I mean, I still open packs and I still don't see mythics. Although I opened
Yeah,
Emrakul today,
yeah.
which is like Emrakul haymaker.
Yeah.
You need 1 Emrakul. You don't need 4 of them.
Yes.
Unless you're doing show and tell or something like that.
I will say I tend to agree with that. Mythics, there's no reason why rare should ever be the most powerful draft cards. I think probably mythics should
See, I think there's no reason I should ever lose to you in a draft.
be.
And
With just
when
one
you have
guy.
gruff triplets,
Yeah.
you can beat me, and I don't like that.
I like that. It's like,
So-
I've won through many a gruff
Yeah.
triplet.
Yeah, sure, because you won the turn it came out.
Yeah.
Or like countered it, or like did
Yeah.
some
I-
weird stuff. Yeah.
I had a deck in the Winner box a while back. And he resolved a gruff triplets, and I outgrinded it.
Ooh,
Damn.
That's
It
one
was
way
chaos
to do it.
sealed.
yeah.
That's tight. Yeah, see, like they're always winnable.
They are
right?
beatable. Like like every card in Magic is designed to like be
course.
to have its counters, right?
Yeah.
But
Sometimes they are strong
every
enough.
deck can't deal with every rare.
Yes, for
Right.
sure.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you get rock, paper, scissors, and I don't like that when that happens.
I like it. I like whenever there's just a random haymaker thrown from nowhere.
Yeah.
Just like a top deck that just blows the board up and gives its sunfall. right? Right?
Like
just,
you love the
chaos.
Gain 13 Life, Second Sons of
oh, yeah.
And I hate that.
Approach of the second son.
I hate it.
7 mana.
That's the difference between me and you.
I love that card. Yeah. That's just a wild haymaker, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you could be completely losing. Your opponent has done everything to win the game, and they just don't win the game. Right?
And you gain 13 life,
yeah.
and they have 7 turns, probably less to deal with it.
Like 2, right?
And they're not in blue, so you know you're fine. Like
Yeah.
you know you're casting it the next time you draw it.
Yeah.
So when I'm building synergy, I'm looking towards archetypes, correct?
Yes.
So we have some archetypes in MH3, correct?
Yes.
Is there one you'd like to talk about?
There is, and it's called Jeskai Energy, and it's great. And it counters Eldrazi, which everyone is trying to do right now. I think it counters it pretty hard. Joel, what do you think?
I think it can, but you definitely got to work for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Writhing Chrysalis is a hell of a card.
Yep. But it
How does
can't
it beat
compete
that?
with lightning bolts, baby.
Yeah,
we'll-
it can.
we'll get there. So I'm gonna do this in like a primer scenario, and we're first gonna start with the rares and mythics that like we actively are looking for this deck, and they're gonna put us in this deck, like rares and like uncommon signals. The first one that we want badly is Guide of Souls. It's just a bomb. It's just a nutty bomb, and it ends games on turn 4 sometimes. It's ridiculous. And if they can never cast a Writhing Chrysalis, they can never beat you with the Writhing Chrysalis.
What does that do?
Guiding Souls is a 1 mana 1/2. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 energy.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you attack,
I
you
know
can
about
pay
that one.
3 energy, give something 2 counters, and give it flying.
That's
It's a
pretty
flying
good.
counter.
A flying counter.
Mind you.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh,
And since all your guys make approximately 3 energy, and the ones that don't make 2, but they also enter the battlefield, therefore 3,
Mhm.
every time you play a guy, you can give a different guy that is attacking this turn flying.
oh,
And
jeez.
then they have to deal with your flyers before they can deal with Guide of Souls, which is just delaying the problem on their end, thus winning you the game.
Great.
The next one is a Jeskai. It's Satya Aetherflux Genius. I haven't got to play with this one yet, but it's 4 mana for 1 blue, red, white. It has menace and haste, and when it attacks, you can make a copy of a creature you control, and then you have to sack it at your end step unless you pay energy equal to its CMC, in which case you can keep it.
Oh,
And these energy decks don't have a ton of high mana costed guys, and often the guys you copy will make enough mana or energy
mm-hmm.
to where you can just keep it. And that's dumb.
Ah,
Also, notably, this is a 4 mana 3/5 menace haste.
Yes. That instantly kiki jikis, right? Like it's broken. The next one is Flage, and it's insane. It's like Lightning Helix, and then you have to escape 3 cards,
Mhm.
which is like your lands fetch. Like it's
Yeah.
trivial to
Yeah.
escape.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not bad.
It's insane.
Every
it have
deck
flash?
has like 6.
It does not have flash.
okay.
Every deck has like 6 fetch lands.
Yeah, and then you're like, or you're playing instants, like you're playing the 1 mana, draw a card, get 2 energy. Like it's just trivial to have 3 cards in your graveyard. Invert Polarity is a bomb. You can't convince me otherwise. It's blue, blue, red. Counter a spell, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain control of the spell. If not, it just gets countered.
Hmm.
When you win the flip, you win the game the next turn. Like a lot of the time.
I don't think I've ever actively sweated like while I was playing a game of Arena when my opponent had 2 blue and a red up, and I was about to cast an Ulamog.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh no.
And oh boy, it was just like that meme. There's a meme of this guy like sweating trying to hit a red button, and it was me. And I literally roped for a little while because I was like, oh no. And luckily I just played it. Nothing happened. Immediately went to like on the field. I said, whoo.
That's like a computer screen smasher event for
Oh
sure.
goodness, yeah.
For
Like
sure.
you're just walking away after that. But that card just makes me sweat. I mean, it is such a bomb once that you get that coin flip.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're out of it.
And like if you feel so safe with that card in your hand. Like you feel so safe. Because like you're at least countering whatever they're doing. Right. But anyway, those are the 4 big ones, and then we have some second tier ones that we like maybe want, but we're not as high on. Aether Revolt. As long as the permanent you control left, it's a 4-mana enchantment. It has Revolt. As long as the permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, the source you control will deal non-combat damage to an opponent or permanent, deals that much +2. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, it deals that much damage to any target. I haven't got to play with this card yet. I don't think it's anywhere near these other things. You think it's broken?
Think it's pretty competitive with Fledge.
It's pretty competitive.
Yeah,
But
it
the
sounds
card is-
horrifying.
Think about it this way: all of your creatures, we have said multiple times, either make 2 or 3 energy.
Yes.
All of your creatures now flame tongue Kavu.
Right. But it costs you 4 mana to do nothing for a turn, right? Like
So Flame Tongue Kavu, all of your creatures. Then?
Like
That's
next
insane.
turn. Right?
Yeah.
Then that's where I'm kind of low on it. Another card I've been unimpressed with but is very good is Wrath of the Skies. Because oftentimes you're the aggressor, you have the board presence, but you can't deal with what they have. And like when you play Wrath of the Skies, you'd rather have like an O-ring, like the energy O-ring, but like it does get you out of anything. So it is a bomb and it is worth playing.
I did win through one of these today.
Yeah, it's not unbeatable.
It's definitely not, because it's like to get up to like you're never ramping harder than the ramp decks, right?
Right.
So that's like the biggest problem that I've had with it. Yeah.
And then another one that I've had a lot of problems dealing with is Ginkgo Future Shaper. That's the 2/5 that whenever a non-token permanent, including the lands that you fetch, leave the battlefield, you get to make a token, and you can do that up to 3 times a turn. And then you can pay 5 mana and put a 1/1 creature or 1/1 counter on all your creatures.
I will say, Genku has made me look like a fool a couple times in this format so far.
I've Wrath of the Skies 2 Genkus, and it like I had to Wrath, and it's like I just still lose.
Yeah. Genku's scary.
Yep. Any of these you agree or you disagree with, Joel? I know you have a lot of
No.
experience with this deck.
I like all of these. Obviously, there's some other good cards that are always going to be playing.
Yeah.
Right? Things like Felia, things like Ajani. Right?
Yes.
But these are definitely some of the premium ones.
These ones, like I consider the like at least the top 4 and also Aether Revolt to be like signals that I should move into this deck.
I think Ocelot Pride probably also belongs here. Just because it is very much the same kind of aggressive slant mythic. And it also has very similar win rate to like Guide of Souls. The
Okay.
card is very insane.
Is that the 1/1
It's not
first
like
striker
energy-
lifelink?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes a cat, and then makes a cat, and then
Yep.
makes 7 cats.
I think there's other decks it would be better in, but it's just generically good in everything, right?
Yeah, it's always good. It doesn't mean you have to go energy, right? But it is very good in energy just because of all the attack triggers where you can give it random things. And then also, it's really good in energy because there's other ways of gaining life. The blue-white common signpost, Whittlegate Gargoyle, with the cat is some insane synergy.
Yep.
Right? Because you don't even need the cat to attack them to gain life and make tokens. And then you just start going off.
Yep, makes sense. All right, next up we have our uncommon cards that should be considered signals, and we would really like to have. We're probably not going to ever get all 5 of these, but if we see them early in pack 1, we should consider this as a sign that at least the person to our right is most likely not doing this. And I'm saying early as in like pick 4 beyond. The first one is Royal Cartographer. It just enables itself, and it's one of the best payoffs you can use energy for. So you play a land, you get an energy, you pay 6, you draw 3 cards. As we all know, drawing 3 cards is very good.
Yeah.
And we're going to play lands. And most often, we're going to play multiple lands on the same turn because we're going to stack them to get things. So,
Yep.
very good.
Sounds busted.
The next one is a similar vein. It's Unstable Amulet. You only get the 2 energy, so it doesn't enable itself. So, it's like slightly worse to me. But you do get to pay 2, exile a card. And when you play that card, you can keep it exiled until you do it again. When you play that card, or cast that card, I guess, you deal 1 damage to each opponent.
Busted.
Yeah. I really am a big fan of Suppression Ray. It's a modal dual face card. So the backside's a white blue land, which we like. The front side often reads, you win the game. It puts all their stuff to sleep, and you can spend any amount of energy to keep it, put a stun counter on any amount of things. And often you have a very significant board presence advantage over a lot of decks.
One thing I would definitely say on this one is one of the cards that lets you beat Eldrazi.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Any
And-
deck where you've got like 2 of these, you deal, like let's say 13 damage, even like 10 damage, right? And then they stabilize. They have all their Writhing Chrysalis, they have all their things. All of a sudden you tap all of them, you put stun counters on all of them, and you swing. And they either die that turn or next turn because everything's stunned.
Yep. Eldrazi's hyper weak to things that tap. They can't deal with
Yes,
it.
yes.
And that's why this deck shines. Static Prison, the Static Prison is just so mana efficient, and you can keep things for removed for as long as you want with it.
Mhm.
It's like Path to Exile in this deck. Like, it's insane. And
The
then
only thing I'd note on that one is if you're like mid-range Jeskai energy, you got to be careful how you play this. I've had a lot of opponents with like a mid-range build of energy play this against me on 2
Yeah.
or on 3,
Oh no.
and that's too aggressive.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
do have to be aware that there is a cost to it, right?
Mhm.
yes.
If you're more aggressive, you can get away with that. But they were definitely like a mid-range deck. I was a mid-range deck. They exiled my creature, and I got it back in 5 turns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. This should be like your Writhing Chrysalis emergency panic button, right? Because you have flyers and they can now block all of them.
Exactly.
The next card, and this goes in like a hyper aggressive, I think, energy deck, and that's Amped Raptor. That's the 2 mana,
Oh.
2/1 first strike, and when it enters the battlefield, you can reveal cards and pay
This
energy
is
to play
like
it.
the highest opening hand win rate energy card, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and
It's
like
Like, this
said,
card
very
goes in
strong.
every deck.
it leads itself to the aggressive
Yeah,
energy
for
deck,
sure.
and it's like insane, right?
Yep.
Because it cascades for like free.
The way I'd put it is this card is best in the aggressive energy deck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For
Even if
sure.
I'm not energy, I've played this card pretty regularly with just incidental energy, and it's great.
Yep.
Right?
It
And
seems,
even if I'm more
I've
mid-range,
been
I'm
super
always playing.
impressed with it.
Yeah, even if you're mid range like energy, by the late game you have so much energy that you can play this and you can cast whatever pops up.
But yeah, when I get this card early, I'm very interested in drafting around it. I drafted a deck where I think I had 3 Amped Raptors, but
Ooh.
my curve pretty much stopped at 2 because I wanted to cast them on 2,
Yeah.
and pretty much always have. Right? I had like 3 or 4 cards that cost more, but I was just heavily leaning into the fact that I got 1 pack 1 pick 1 and 1 pack 1 pick 2. And I was like, I'm going to have these hit every time.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
when they hit, you pretty much win. Right?
Mhm.
It's 2 spells for 1.
That's what the Boros energy deck is like all about. Is
Yeah.
those guys?
For
And
sure.
screw it,
Blue adds the
that's
mid
right.
range.
Yeah, blue. I think blue red can be aggro, but I haven't completed that yet, so I'll get there. But the Jeskai deck like all flows together too.
Oh,
So next up we have just solid uncommon cards that we should prioritize. I really like the Battle Wagon that just taps to get you energy and lets you use energy on things that you like to do, like tapping creatures, drawing cards, and crewing itself.
Mhm.
Brain Surge we actually drafted, and we have a video of us drafting it, and that was very good in the energy decks. You do need ways to shuffle your library for it to
you need
shine.
fetches.
Yes, but you should have those.
You
'Cause
should
you're
probably
3
should,
colors.
yeah.
You should have them. You should have at least like 5 or 6 of them. Next we have Ghostfire Size, and that's just 1 mana forward to anything. It's
Good
insane.
in every red deck.
Yeah.
Yep, you just want it in red decks. Pinnacle Monk has been a star specifically in these energy decks.
Yeah.
It's to me the second best modal double face card
Get back your lightning bolts, right?
in your sleeps and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ral has been very good in this deck because a lot of times those Eldrazi decks will slow you down with their 0/1s, and you can just clear it, and then you win. And also draws you cards, like it does all the things you want to do.
The one thing I like about Ral, right? It's good against the Eldrazi decks because of that. It's a one-sided sweeper
Mhm.
against aggressive decks. Everything is an X2.
Yeah.
Right? It's good against mid-range decks because it draws you 2 cards and makes a creature. Right? It's just like it has a mode for each of the matchups.
Yep.
So it never feels like even close to a dead card, other than the fact that it's a little bit expensive.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. All the modal double face cards are good, but the better ones are Witch Enchanter, Sink into Stupor, and Legion Leadership. But you should consider all of them.
I've been
as-
super impressed with Legion leadership.
yeah, it's
stupid,
really
yeah.
good. And I mean, it's,
Legion leadership is amazing.
Having
too-
like
it
a
gives you
combat
lethal
trick
out of
on a land, that's crazy.
yeah.
It just ends games too.
And then Scurry of Gremlins is on here, but it doesn't go in all the energy decks. But
It's
it is
the
the
aggro.
hyper aggressive.
It's the hyper aggressive Boros version.
And one thing to note, just because it doesn't necessarily go in every deck, it is a very, very good card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But you definitely need to be trying to kill them on turn 4 to 5 for it to really shine.
Yep. And then next we have common cards that we should consider signals and are likely to have. So if we got a signal pick 4, we should expect to be seeing these around pick 6, 7 to let us know that, hey, this is still open. Except for Galvanic Discharge because everyone wants it. It's
Yeah.
just an insane card. Like even non-energy decks want this card, and we take these early.
Played him Eldrazi deck.
But the rest of them are good signals. And Conduit Goblin is an insane signal. Like give all your stuff haste. It's good. It makes energy. And if you have better things to use energy on, you can. Riddlegate Gargoyle is a flyer. We like flyers because we like to be able to attack. And Cyclops Superconductor has been overperforming for me. It does give you 3 energy, and it also deals its damage to any target when it dies. And that includes their face, which is the place. Tune the Narrative, I've had a lot of chances to play with. So, Joel, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. Tune the Narrative is one of those commons that you always put in the deck, in like the Jeskai handed decks, because it just is so free. My favorite thing to do with Tune the Narrative is I really like having at least one Battle Wagon in these decks, because it gives you a lot of play in the mid-range mirrors. Right? Anytime they're doing any non-Eldrazi mid-rangey kind of thing, and even in the Eldrazi matchups, right? Whenever you have Battle Wagons and Tunes, you outgrind them no matter what they're doing, because you are playing 1 mana, draw 1 2/3 of a card. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because you draw, and then you get enough energy to typically draw off the Battle Wagon.
And you can like sneakily crew it when they don't expect it.
Exactly. That is one of my favorite things to do. That's my favorite, like, quote unquote combat trick in the set. You got 2 energy, and you've got a Battle Wagon. Right? You pay 1 after they attack. Tune the Narrative, go up to 4 energy. Pay 4 energy on the Battle Wagon, make it a 4/5, block their thing. And then on the end step, you tap Battle Wagon to get 2 energy back.
Yep.
Right?
So you've drawn a card and killed their guy.
You have spent 1 mana, draw a card, kill your thing, get your energy back.
Yep.
Right. So
yep. That
definitely feels good.
That seems.
I would also say the Cyclops Superconductor, I would definitely say is a bit less of a signal than the others. It is going much later on average than any of the other ones. It's still good in those decks, don't get me wrong. But just based off the fact that it's a 3-drop instead of a 2-drop, slows it down quite a bit.
Yeah. That's one I haven't been impressed with at all.
Okay, next were the cards that are just solid, but I feel like we should prioritize below lands unless we already have the lands that we need. Siege Gang Commander, sick. It doesn't go in this deck. It's just a good card, right? So
it's got a pretty low win rate.
Does it?
That's really surprising to me, honestly.
Well, it's a 5-drop, so
yeah, but like even improvement when drawn is pretty low.
I'm not super tied to the numbers right now.
It's early. It's early.
Right?
It's been like 3 days.
A card that's been overperforming for me is Hexgold Slith because it's just like really hard to deal with and it grows. It's the one that you can pay energy to give first strike to, and every time it hits, you get a counter. Ajani
and Bug to me are those like 2-drops that just like enable the deck. They're just like the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Any of the 2-drops that give you energy feel great. Like you want the 2 colored ones, right?
Right.
You're always going to play some number of Charge Bugs, some number of Sliths, some number of Tempest Harvester.
And they're all fairly interchangeable.
Slith feels so good on 2. Oh my gosh, if you get it on 2 and they have nothing and you just get that first hit in.
Bro.
Oh.
Me and Joel did it on our draft with 1/2 rare that like gives it flying and it's like busted. It's just busted.
It felt like we were playing Constructed.
I think we won on like turn 4. Like,
we did. We had at least one turn 4 in at least one of the games.
Goodness gracious.
insane.
Wow.
Ajani Fells the Godsire is just another just sick.
Generically good.
Yeah, and it does a bunch of things. That's good. Thraven Charm I've been really impressed with. Like dealing double equal to the number of token creatures you have is a lot.
I got hit by a sneaky Exile Your Graveyard with that.
Yeah.
It's
and it
annoying.
hurt.
It's annoying when they get all your fairies out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Obviously, Fanged Flames is good. Charge Bug is like the interchangeable slot. Demon Furier has been overperforming, I think. I'm kind of high on Solstice Zealot because it does deal with those Eldrazi so good. It just taps them down and they can't do anything with them.
I think I might have put Solstice Zealot on those like signal cards because Solstice Zealot, it's been performing really well for me, mainly because it's really good against the Eldrazi deck.
Yep.
Right? Like
They
you can
can't deal with
hose
tapping.
Eldrazi.
I was getting them like last pick today, and I went Artifacts instead. I'm an idiot, but I wanted to try something else. Next, we have Serum Visionary. It's just a generically good blue card, and Tempest Harvester is one of those 2-mana like guys that you just love to have.
All right, this is my question for Joel. Why is the blue counter spell the energy counter spell? Is that not good? Does that not belong in these decks?
Okay, that card is generically fine. My current problem with that card is everyone on Mythic on Arena is drafting Eldrazi. Because the people you draft with are not necessarily of the same rank as the people you play against.
That is true.
Right?
And
Arena
it doesn't,
tries to keep it closer, but it's a pretty wide range. You're
it
playing drafting
doesn't,
from
it doesn't
black to
counter
midnight.
cast triggers, right?
Yes, that is my point exactly.
Yep.
They cast the Writhing Chrysalis, you counter it, they have 2 01s.
Yep.
Right?
You gotta play
that
the
card can
1
never be
counter.
Yep. And that's why the tapping's better because like the Writhing Chrysalis eventually sacks the things that it casted, and then you can still like put it at bay. Right. Where
and there's a lot of cast triggers in this set.
Oh
Ton.
goodness, yeah.
Yeah,
surprising
I
amount.
have not been high on that either.
Yeah.
I think it has a place. You can definitely play some number. I have been on 1 to 2 or 0.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever go higher than 2.
Yeah.
I think even 2 is probably a little sketchy. But the first copy is definitely fine.
What about the 1 mana counter? Can that go in
I-
these Jeskai energies?
Refuse to play it.
I
If
think
you're
it's
saying
good.
either
The
Strict
blue
Serenade
one?
or the Stifle, I am so skeptical.
Not Strict Serenade. No, the other
The
one.
replicate one
The replicate one.
that counters triggered
I'm gonna be-
abilities and colorless spells or something.
Colorless spells and triggered abilities. So it gets, for 2 mana, you can stop Writhing Chrysalis.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been impressed with that. I like it. Having it in
I
my
mean,
blue deck.
okay, I could see it purely as like 2 mana counter target Writhing Chrysalis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Or
we're good
Ulamog. Or Emrakul. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
sick.
It's
No.
dead against
I will
like
try.
the mirror, right? Like
now. You had
The mirror, yes.
Yeah.
But like most decks have a random devoid creature in them somewhere, right?
sure,
Like,
and every deck's gonna have some triggered abilities
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
counter, but like
Sometimes
that doesn't
it's
feel
sick,
like
yeah.
it's worth a card. Like against anything but
Anytime you-
Eldrazi.
sometimes like I've stopped the trigger for them to like flip their Johnny and win the game. right?
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I've had.
But have you
it's-
rotted with it in your hand and where it like didn't help you?
No, it's always felt right.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, anyways. But
I haven't
that's-
tried it yet, so
you know what? You convinced me. I will try it, but I am still very skeptical.
yeah. Because to me, it feels like it's dead and it's like a lot of.
Can you
matchups.
counter like a galvanic discharge? You gain energy trigger.
No, that's part of resolving the spell.
Yeah, but you can counter the gain energy of when it enters the battlefield.
yeah, which is really bad.
Yeah, you can counter
kinda
the 1/2 that like makes something a flyer and then kill the thing that they were gonna fly. But
It's
you
like,
can still get a card out of it. in those
I've
decks.
definitely found uses for it.
Yeah, it's never completely dead. It just,
The Swan Song is unplayable. Swan Song is unplayable.
I had someone swan song my 7 mana Eldrazi, and I was like, this feels really bad, but I think I'm fine with it.
Yeah, you still got a 2/2, bro.
Yeah.
They gave you a little treat to soften the blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because it went from like, I've got a 6/8 reach, but like this 2/2 just trades with the attack, their 2/2 flying attacker I'm worried about. So I think this is still okay.
any cards you think I missed, Joel?
I think these are pretty much all of them.
Like any
Based off the
cards you're
proper price.
actively looking for when you're playing energies?
Deep analysis, I think, is just good in every blue deck.
Yeah.
That's a draw
Inspired
3
Inventor
with flashback.
Yeah,
It's a draw 2,
it's draw 2.
and then you lose flashback.
Yep.
1 blue, 1 colorless, lose 3 life
Triggers all your draw 3 stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the point.
twice.
Yeah. I think the card is just generically good in every blue deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. The card that says draw 4 is pretty good.
For 4.
Exactly.
6 for 6 and 3
So,
life.
Joel, why don't you run us through one of your Jeskai energy decks?
Yeah, trophy deck segment, one that you posted in the Discord.
They are all posted in the Discord, so
Yep.
people should definitely join the
Go
Discord.
do
You
it.
can
We
see
might talk about it.
all
We
the
probably
cool
will. We
decks.
will. Packmates
But-
promise.
Especially if you go undefeated.
Yeah, if you have a undefeated or if it's monocolored. We'll love you.
Yeah. So a recent one that I trophied with, I think the biggest carrier was I had 3 Galvanic Discharge.
Whew.
Galvanic Discharge is a broken card. It just goes off.
Lightning
Right.
bolt.
What's the biggest creature you've Galvanic discharged?
I paid 8 energy to kill an Eldrazi for 1 mana.
Got him.
That's his.
And it was on his end step too, when I had just the 1 red open. He cast, it was the 6/8 Eldrazi Reach guy, and I had all the flyers. And I was like, I'm just gonna bolt it. Bolt the bird.
The big bird, for sure. That's it.
But other than that, for the only rare in the deck was an invert polarity. But
Which is
it
busted.
definitely pulled it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I had deep analysis, a couple pinnacle monks. Having those MDFC lands feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Major help. Because most of the time I cast it and I got back to Galvanic Discharge. And I do specifically remember a hand where I was like, this would be a mulligan, but this is my only red land in this hand. And because of it, I get to keep this. I got to cast an invert polarity because I had a red land. And it was like, this is the power of the MDFC lands. Because I also had a Witch Enchanter too, the white one.
Oh.
So it was like, I was on.
One thing I
Go on.
noticed about this deck is it has a Skoa in it Does that belong in energy decks, or is that just a generically good red card?
It's, I would say, generically good red card. I felt like this deck needed the reach.
Yep.
Okay, right. I have a
'Cause it
lot
deals
of
4
card
face,
selection.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, I have a lot of card selection with a couple Brain Surges, a couple Tempest Harvesters, some Patches for the Brain Surges, the Deep Analysis, right? Like, I'm going to draw a million cards and see a million cards. So having access to Spawn Gang Commander, which can send like 6 to the face, and Skoa, which can send 4 to the face, just gave me a lot of reach
Yep.
that I felt really helps the deck.
That's legit.
Right.
Yeah, that's legit 10 face damage. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like
I couldn't find them when I needed them nearly every game, right? Because I've got Cartographer to draw 3, right? I've got Harvesters to loot, 2 Brain Surges sees infinite cards.
With 2
Right.
prowess guys that pick it back up.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And then Deep Analysis, it's like, I will see these cards, right? So if I need the reach, it's really helpful to have. So not necessarily every deck. If you're more aggressive, do not play the 6-drop, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't think of it as reach if your curve's topping out at 3, right? That's just too much.
That's what +3
But-
+2 and tramples for.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this kind of deck is definitely, this is a mid-range energy
Yeah.
build. I've got good removal, I've got really good card selection, and they're just really efficient threats that if they kill them, give me resources for later. Right? I think that's the biggest advantage of the energy deck is you largely do not care about removal. Removal is a tempo play against you, not a value play.
Yeah.
Because what creature are they killing in this deck that they are feeling good about killing? My Pinnacle Monk, I picked up Instance for Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Right? My Skoa, I dealt them 4. Every other creature in the deck is an ETB that gains me energy, and I have enough ways
It's
to
a
use that
value
energy
deck, right? Yep.
that it's a real,
Yeah.
exactly.
Grinding people
I
out.
was discussing that earlier actually with Ryan, and I was talking about black removal, and he said, well, it's pretty good against the Eldrazi deck, but against everything else in the format,
It's
not
kinda
so
bad,
good. Yeah, it's kind of bad. Like
I
single
don't
targeted
actually know
removal.
I don't know the data on it, but I would imagine that the number of ETBs in this set has got to be way higher than the average set,
Oh, goodness, yeah.
right?
I mean,
It's not
with
even
the
on
just
energy-
ETBs too.
Yeah.
Like there's ETBs and then there's like cast triggers too. It's super
That's
weird.
true. If you
Yeah.
count both of those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the cast triggers have been backbreaking.
Yeah.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll catch you boys on the flippity flop.
My
Later.
Joe, we're waiting.
Mythic players don't need outros.
Mythic top 100 player out.
Top 50 player.